Good evening. Please be seated. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the induction ceremony of the Phi Beta Kappa Society's Gamma chapter of Rhode Island at Providence College. My name is Joan Branham, Professor of Art History, Associate Dean of Arts and Sciences, and President of Phi Beta Kappa here at PC. I want to thank my faculty and staff colleagues, parents, guests, alumni, friends, and inductees for joining us today as we celebrate the importance of the liberal arts at Providence College through this Phi Beta Kappa induction. I also wish to recognize several Providence College leaders with us today. The President of Providence College, Father Kenneth Sicard, Executive Vice President Ann Manchester Molak, Provost Dr. Sean Reed, Dean of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Margaret Watkins, President of Faculty Senate, Dr. Bob Berry, and Director of the Liberal Arts Honors Program, Father Gabriel Pavarnik, who will be here in a minute after he finishes playing the organ in the chapel. I also welcome my fellow Associate Deans, the Phi Beta Kappa faculty and staff, foundation members, and student inductees. We also remember Phi Beta Kappa members who have passed away this year, namely our beloved foundation member, Jane Lunan Perrell. As is the tradition at Providence College, we begin with an invocation, and I'd like to ask Father Mark Knoll, Associate Provost for Academic Policy and Mission Support and Phi Beta Kappa faculty member, to the podium.
Good and gracious God, you who have made and sustain all things and who are closer to us than we are to ourselves, bless us now as we gather to recognize and celebrate the successes of these your children who have stood out among their peers by their eagerness to cultivate the abundance of the gifts you have bestowed on them. We know that all good things come from you. We humbly recognize that the gifts with which you have so generously endowed us, we who are teachers as well as we who are students, are given to us through your divine generosity. Our fascination with the arts, our curiosity about the twists and turns of human history, our fascination with eclipses and climate changes and other mysteries of science, as well as the eagerness to learn and to keep learning. For all of this, we bless and thank you. We ask your blessing, gracious Lord, on this evening of celebration and for your continued guidance as we, lifelong learners that we are, seek to know you better through your creation. Help us to seek new ways to put our mastery of the secrets of the universe at the service of our brothers and sisters, your beloved children, according to our Dominican ideals of seeking truth, contemplating truth, and then sharing with one another. We ask your blessings upon these 50 young women and men whom we induct into our Rhode Island Gamma chapter of Phi Beta Kappa today, as we recognize and honor them for their achievements. We celebrate their capacity for creativity, for critical thinking, for focused effort. We are grateful that they and their families have entrusted Providence College's faculty and staff to engage them intellectually, morally, and spiritually. We are grateful for their confidence to discover and explore new possibilities and knowledge to discern what is good and right, noble and just, here with us in the Friar family. Loving God, keep us eager, keep us learning, keep us humble, and keep us always in your providential care. We ask all these things in your holy name. Amen.
In 2017, Providence College celebrated its 100-year birthday. And while joyful celebrations for the centennial were going on in places like food trucks on Slavin Lawn, torch lightings at Waterfire, and winnings on the basketball court, behind the scenes, another activity was underway: a rigorous multi-year application process to the Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society to grant a chapter to PC. Teams of outside reviewers examined our reports, visited our campus, scrutinized what we do here, interviewed students, faculty, staff, and college leaders to learn what we stand for in terms of teaching, learning, and academic freedom. And what those reviewers found was that Providence College is firmly rooted in its liberal arts mission, in its very beginnings, set forth in 1917, when Rhode Island granted Providence College its charter, and I quote, to promote virtue, piety, and learning in the liberal arts and sciences. They also found that the liberal arts principles we embrace align with the Dominican order's long history of teaching and scholasticism, passion for truth, and love of learning. So, the momentous decision of the Triennial Council of Phi Beta Kappa to award a chapter to PC is historic and a testament to the college's unwavering commitment to the liberal arts and sciences. It situates Providence College among the nation's most prestigious academic institutions. Soon, we will hear the names of these outstanding students and their majors and minors as well. We will learn that many of them have mastered multiple disciplines. For example, double majoring in history and political science while minoring in music, or majoring in biology while minoring in French and film, and so forth. This interdisciplinary impulse of breadth and depth lies at the heart of a liberal arts education and recognizes that no one discipline, no one methodology can solve world problems, but rather multiple approaches and dialogue are necessary. At Providence College, such a liberal arts education across the arts, humanities, natural and social sciences prepares students to think critically and fairly, to express oneself thoughtfully and with purpose, to consider and analyze all of the evidence before coming to a judgment, and to solve difficult problems in a very complicated world. In essence, a liberal arts education prepares students to become responsible, productive, and engaged global citizens, something we need now more than ever. As the mother of a liberal arts graduate myself, I want to thank the parents here tonight for supporting your child's desire to seek a liberal arts major that values questioning sometimes more than answering, and that allows for diversity of thought. No matter what your child's chosen profession, I know their liberal arts education will serve them well. In a minute, we will hear about the history of Phi Beta Kappa and recognize this class of inductees. Let me emphasize the accomplishments and achievements of these students by noting the following. Every student here tonight has achieved academic excellence at the highest level of magna or summa cum laude. Every student here has majored in an arts and sciences discipline and is graduating in the top 10% of the class. Every student here has shown proficiency in a foreign language, an invaluable skill in our increasingly connected global setting. And every student here has demonstrated good character and integrity throughout their college career. Students, as you take your next step forward, I'm confident that you will dedicate yourselves to working for the common good and to utilizing your skills to create justice and equity in society. Your induction into Phi Beta Kappa joins you to a group of thinkers and doers who insist on the importance of the liberal arts for a free society. And I trust that throughout your lives, you will continue to advocate for the liberal arts. Welcome to the Phi Beta Kappa family, and congratulations. As is customary on this occasion, we offer an account of the Society's history. I ask Dr. Elizabeth Bridgham, our Phi Beta Kappa historian to the podium.
On December 5th, 1776, during the American Revolution, 5 students at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, met to create the Society of Phi Beta Kappa. Initially, it was a philosophical and debating society dedicated to the ideals of knowledge and intellectual integrity. Their chosen motto was "Love of learning is the guide to life." In their clandestine meetings, the members seriously debated a host of questions, such as what the just cause of war might be, or is religion necessary in government? Then the establishment of new chapters followed, at Yale in 1780 and Harvard in 1781, and ensured that the Phi Beta Kappa Society would survive the arrival of British General Cornwallis's troops at Williamsburg and the duration of the American Revolution. The organization was originally created as a secret society so that its founders would have the freedom to discuss any topic they chose. Freedom of inquiry has been a hallmark of Phi Beta Kappa ever since. In the 1830s, however, Harvard dropped the requirement for secrecy, and in the 1870s and 1880s, the first women and African Americans were also invited to join Phi Beta Kappa. Today, Phi Beta Kappa has over 500,000 living members and 290 chapters at colleges and universities across the country. Phi Beta Kappa takes pride in its origins and has retained a tradition of symbolic emblems to identify members to each other. The original chapters adopted a device which has evolved into the Phi Beta Kappa key, which you can see illustrated on your program here. The key had its origins in a square medal worn by the members of the William and Mary chapter. Later, a lower stem was added by the branch at Yale, which enabled the medal to be used to wind a pocket watch, hence its name as key today. On the front, it bears the Greek letters Phi Beta Kappa, the initials of the words Philosophia Biou Kubernetese, meaning love of learning is the guide of life. The 3 stars in the upper left-hand corner of this side symbolize the aims of the society: friendship, morality, and learning. A pointing hand in the lower right-hand corner stands for aspiration. On the reverse side of the gold key are inscribed the letters S and P, which stand for the Society's second motto, the Latin words Societas Philosophiae, meaning Society of Philosophy. Below them appears the date of the founding of the first chapter, December 5th, 1776. Students, when you receive your keys, you will also see your names have been inscribed on them. As Charles Evans Hughes, the late Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and Phi Beta Kappa member, eloquently stated, "The particular interest of Phi Beta Kappa is in liberal education. Intensive critical study of educational aims and methods has found nothing to take its place. It is liberal because it emancipates. It signifies freedom from the tyranny of ignorance and, from what is worse, the dominion of folly." Members of Phi Beta Kappa have turned aside from the easier paths and by their talent and fidelity have proved themselves to be worthy. It gives the fitting recognition of a special distinction. To our inductees, this is a memorable moment. Phi Beta Kappa honors the best and the brightest in the liberal arts and sciences. At Providence College, we engage you in a mission of global citizenship and responsible leadership. The nexus between the values of Phi Beta Kappa and Providence College is embracing excellence as a guiding principle. Today, celebrate your excellence and take it with you as you build your lives beyond Providence College. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Bridgham. Students, you're about to become one of the successors of the history we just heard. It is our fondest hope that you, in turn, will come to cherish the society and will strive to perpetuate its principles. Fellow members of Phi Beta Kappa, honored guests, we meet here this evening to receive into our society those who, having qualified for election, now wish to be admitted to the privileges and undertake its responsibilities. In a ceremony that goes back to the time of the founding of our nation, we will welcome them into an association with all those who have been members of Phi Beta Kappa in the past and into a lifelong relationship with the society today. I have the honor to present the following persons who, agreeable to our invitation here, offer themselves for initiation. Student candidates for membership in course, please stand. In accordance with the rules of the chapter and in consequence of your intellectual and moral character, supported by your record of high attainment at this institution, you have been selected as worthy members of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. Your names have been submitted to the scrutiny of the constitutional electors of this chapter and have met with their approval. You have been formally notified of your election, and by your presence here, signify your desire to be enrolled as members of this historic and honorable society. Therefore, I now inquire, do you solemnly promise that you will be true and faithful to the Phi Beta Kappa Society, uphold its standards, obey its laws, and seek to reflect credit upon your affiliation with this venerable fellowship of learners? Please signify this promise by stating, I do. Each of you has now affirmed your loyalty to Phi Beta Kappa and pledged to uphold its standards. We welcome you into the ranks of membership, and I invite Secretary Mulcahy to the podium.
As I invite each candidate for membership to come forward wearing your Phi Beta Kappa honors cords, also to be worn at the college's graduation ceremony, you'll be congratulated by President Branham and Vice President Herron. You will receive the Phi Beta Kappa key engraved with your name and marking the quest for wisdom, accept the certificate of Phi Beta Kappa induction, and sign the registry of the Gamma chapter of Rhode Island. Are we ready? Lily Alessandro, major in Public and Community Service Studies. Emily Rose Baldo, major in English and minor in Sociology. Hallie Elizabeth Veronic, majors in English and Theology and a minor in Spanish. Aidan Blanchette, major in Philosophy and a minor in Catholic Humanities. Tess Bonanno, major in Chemistry. Julia Anna Bonavolonto, majors in Biology and Spanish. Casey Matthew Burgess, major in Philosophy. Holly Carew, major in history, and minors in marketing and French. Anna Elizabeth Carlson, major in psychology and minor in Spanish. Christina Elizabeth Sherry, majors in economics and political science and minors in history and women's and gender studies. Gianpaolo Colanino, major in mathematics and minors in finance and computer science. Jeremy Completo, majors in political science and history and minor in Latin American and Latina studies. Eleanor de Kaiser, major in biology and minor in computer science. Sarah Downey, major in Spanish secondary ed and minor in women's and gender studies. Colleen Marie Durkin, major in psychology and minor in computer science. Hope Margaret Fowler, majors in English and American Studies and a minor in writing. Kaylee Friedman, major in biology and minor in women's and gender studies. Carmela Maria Frunzak, major in political science. Emily Morgan Gelchi, major in computer science and minors in political science and data science. Caitlin Alexandra Gent, major in chemistry. Alexis May Guptill, majors in psychology and social science and minor in French. Raymond Jarvis, majors in political science and classics. Anna Carey Kaluski, majors in management and global studies. William Ridgely Kircher, major in history and minors in political science and music. Claire Elizabeth Krug, majors in music, technology and production and music. Catherine Marie Labovitz, major in psychology and minors in marketing and Spanish. Nicholas Dennis Lamrose, major in political science and minor in history. Georgina King Ling Lau, major in history and minors in marketing and dance. Tessa Jane Liner, major in political science. Margaret Lowe, majors in health policy and management and psychology. Laura Maria Maldonado Ramallo, majors in psychology and global studies and a minor in Latin American and Latino studies. Caitlin Rose McHugh, majors in environmental biology and economics, and minor in business and innovation. Matthew L. Moran, major in computer science and minors in Spanish and data science. Isabella Peretti, majors in health policy and management and psychology. Ana Gabriela Peña Garicano Abreu, major in biology and minor in French. Colin Andrew Napierski Prancel, major in history and minors in film, video, and Italian. Hope Rhine, majors in global studies and political science, and a minor in Middle East studies. Dieter G. Rodriguez, major in environmental biology. Taylor Jean Ida Rogers, majors in psychology and English. Christian Joseph Charetta, major in political science and minors in communication and Italian. Sophia Reraini Surroy, majors in political science and global studies and minors in Spanish and Latin American and Latino studies. Thomas Cornelius Silvia, majors in Spanish and social science. Yasmin Tol Oriana, major in psychology and minor in sociology. Valentina Torres Cerda, major in biology and minor in French. Abigail Catherine Turano, major in history and minors in political science and sociology. And Emma McCarthy Williams, majors in English and history and minor in French.
Candidates for membership in course. By election of this chapter and by your assent to its pledge, the Society's requirements for initiation are fully satisfied. I therefore, in the presence of these members of the Society, declare you to be members of the Gamma chapter of Phi Beta Kappa in the state of Rhode Island and authorize you to wear its cords on commencement day, its key as a badge, and to participate in its meetings. You are now lifetime members of the nation's most prestigious academic honor society in the liberal arts. Be active in its programs, support its endeavors and lofty goals, and be a working advocate for the liberal arts in our society. It is my pleasure to welcome you as members of the chapter. Congratulations. You may be seated.
Every year, we have the privilege of selecting an alum of the college to be inducted into Phi Beta Kappa. Alumni members are distinguished graduates of not less than 10 years who are elected in recognition of scholarly and professional achievement after graduation and in consideration of their contributions in the fields of the humane sciences and letters. I ask that alumna Dr. Carrie Murphy Beninato, class of 1999, stand and come forward to receive your certificate and Phi Beta Kappa key and sign the registry of the Gamma chapter of Rhode Island. Dr. Beninato is a Chief Platform Officer at Sail Biometrics. She has a storied career in the development of mRNA products and pharmaceutical candidates. She previously served as the Chief Scientific Officer of 76 Bio, where she led all research and development programs, including overseeing the development of 2 cancer treatment programs. Prior to this, she spent 8 years at Moderna, most recently serving as Vice President, where she led a platform team with oversight for the discovery and development of mRNA delivery tools for multiple modalities. She was an essential part of the team of scientists that saved the country during the pandemic. In 2022, Dr. Beninato earned the Heroes of Chemistry Award from the American Chemical Society for her work contributing to Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. She began her industry career in scientific research at AstraZeneca after completing a postdoctoral fellowship at Harvard University. She holds a PhD in organic chemistry from Boston College and a BS in chemistry with a minor in math from Providence College. It is a great pleasure to welcome Dr. Beninato back to Providence College and honor her momentous contributions to the sciences, but also to humanity. Congratulations, Dr. Beninato. At this time, I would like to ask Dr. Carrie Beninato to deliver the podium, to deliver the alumni address from the podium.
I want to start by saying congratulations to all of you. This is something that you should be very, very proud of. And thank you to the committee for inviting me back here for this, this great honor. So the success that you all have had here, this really signifies, your commitment and your sacrifices, your curiosity, and those are really important things that are going to be able to carry you through your careers. Being a long time ago now, but I do remember the days when, people would be going down the hall to watch, and my day was what, 90210, or, going out to the bars, and I was going to the library. And those are sacrifices as a dedication. I really loved what I did, and so hopefully I can convince you that, those sacrifices does pay off. At the same time, I was a chemistry major, science, math, civ, philosophy, theology. That was not my jam. However, I can also hopefully convince you that all of that time invested in those courses and what these professors at Providence College taught you, it really benefit you as you go out into your career. And so when I came to PC, I was the 4th member of my family to come to Providence College. So my father and then both of my sisters came to PC before me. Now, they were all humanities, sociology, finance majors, and so I was the first scientist in the family, and I think at the time no one really quite knew what to do with me. I decided on PC mostly because it was familiar, it felt comfortable. I was considering Boston University, but when I went there, it was just somewhat overwhelmed. It was just too big and just not felt right. And so that's really, main motivation why I decided to come to PC. So I'm not sure of what the size of the chemistry majors classes are now, but there were 8 chemistry majors when I started, and there are 8 graduating members. And so the really nice thing about that is really that you get here to school like this is the intimacy. Once you get past freshman and junior year, and all the pre-med students have taken their Gem Bio and Orgo commitments that they have to, what we had was a really tight-knit group that supported each other. Also, I think a really important thing that was really important for me as I progressed in my career was the intimacy that I was able to form with my professors. Because of that, I ended up being invited to do undergraduate research, and knowing myself, who I was back then, and even still today, if I was at a larger university, I don't think I would have had the courage to go in and ask. But at a place like this, I had that opportunity, and it was really key for me embarking on my career. it was really that undergraduate research that, inspired me to want to pursue a PhD in chemistry. Like, honestly, my sophomore year of orgochemistry actually changed my major because I hated the lab so much. Like, how can I want to be a chemist? This is terribly boring. And then I learned about research and independent research, and that's really where I fell in love. And so from Providence College, I went to Boston College, and so I worked there for 5 years to get my PhD. I have to admit, when I went there, I was pretty overwhelmed. In that, it was the first time I cried, because I thought, like, well, maybe going to a small liberal arts college wasn't actually the best thing. I was, in school with, students that had come from big universities that had been doing research in like large university labs, parts of publications, just, something much smaller than PC had, PC had at the time. I think there was a 60 megahertz NMR, so very, very different. So I felt super overwhelmed, but, obviously things, I figured it out. Grad school was some of the hardest, but yet some of my most favorite time that I've had, because it's where I really met my lifelong friends. So we all meet them at different stages of our lives, but there was just really, I was so fortunate to be able to be in lab with really supportive people. We supported each other, and then also were able to learn from each other. And to this day, these are my closest friends. I'm actually meeting someone on Thursday for coffee who I haven't seen in a while. So from BC, I decided to do postdoctoral research, and like a number of my career changes really are always triggered by curiosity and the thought that I feel like there's more to learn. And so when I finished up my PhD, I thought, well, there's still so much more to learn, and I really, I felt that if I didn't do it, I was going to regret it. So I went to Harvard and did 2 years of postdoctoral research before I joined AstraZeneca. So in AstraZeneca, I joined as a junior medicinal chemist, and basically what does a med chemist do? They design molecules to ask biological questions, all with the aim of making new medicines. It was a great fundamental education, really learned the ropes of what is drug development, and then how do you do this. But after several years, I started to get that itch again, and that I didn't feel like I was learning as much, and I felt like there was just so much more to do out there. Also in the field I was working on was like antibacterials, which is a very, very difficult area of research for a variety of reasons. But I was working on, a penicillin-like compound. So it was really hard to get up in the front of the room and be like, hey, I'm doing something so critical and important, but I've made a small change to like a 35-plus-year-old like scaffold. And it was just, I felt like there was more to do out there. I wanted to do something more impactful. And so it was there that I learned about this company called Moderna that no one had heard of at the time. It was, relatively small. And what I was hired to do was basically start the discovery on the delivery aspect of the RNA. I'm sure you've all heard about RNA and lipid nanoparticles at this point. And what I was really attracted to was just the potential of technology, the power of it, and the fact that if one little improvement, like working with a team, could potentially address not just one medicine, but an entire platform of medicines. And so I was there for 8 years. And so, over the time, what I worked on is exactly these. I designed these compounds, and and then when COVID hit, like everyone else, like our lives changed. We all went home, but when Stefan Bancel, the CEO, he was at, I think, Davos. There's a very fancy conference for very wealthy people every year over in Switzerland. He was there, and he heard about this strange virus in China. And so he called home, called Moderna, and be like, start working on this. And so it was, for that reason, like the second that the strain was published, we literally had a molecule designed. Mahir, my colleague, he designed the molecule in 30 minutes. And so the molecule that ultimately went into the vaccine, but that just goes to show like the amount of work that had gone into really building out that platform. And then, it was just amazing to be part of this, seeing this work, this collaborative environment. And so, meanwhile, everybody's remote. Right? And the fact that that Moderna as a company was able to get it into the clinic in 40-something days, which is like absolutely unheard of, all by being remote. And that's just that really key collaboration, which is a really key skill set that I believe like you're gaining by being here. And so it was an amazing time, my time at Moderna. I had amazing mentors. I really learned a ton. Just being a part of that as a drug developer, your whole goal is to make medicines, and Most people don't actually get something into the clinic or, into actually approved medicines because it's really hard, right? It's a really hard thing. It just doesn't have to do with people not being good scientists. And then I remember when they published the efficacy data from the vaccine, and it was 95% effective. And I was sitting at home with my husband, and I'm getting like emotional now, and like I cried. I was like, oh shit, like I actually did something. Like it works, and this is major. And wow, and just the overwhelming is like most of the time, like you don't want anyone that you know to take a medicine you worked on because it usually means they're really sick. But here, everyone in my family, my parents, my friends, it was just a really, really amazing time, and it's such an amazing company to be with. So after 8 years, again, it was one of those things I felt like there was more to learn. I joined 76 Bio as a chief scientific officer, and my motivation there was really to learn about this very small startup. What's it like to build a company? It was early, it was small funding, and really what we needed to do was build out the science and really get that funding. It's not the best time to be an early stage biotech, kind of if you were in the field, because it's a tough economy. And so I say to my boss, I don't regret going there in a second because I got literally crash course in early stage biotech and what it takes to work with investors and raise money. And so now I'm made another transition. I'm at Sail Biomedicines, leading the platform research, and I'm loving it. It's because it's really reminding me of Moderna in 2014 when I started, where we had something, we need to get it, and it's just such an exciting environment to be in and to be a part of that, and really help to drive and mentor a team to be able to deliver. And so now, pulling it all back, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my choice to go to PC and the education, that I got here. I think first that intimacy, those small classes was just critical for me and who I am in terms of building those relationships, and then also building those relationships with your peers and your classmates. One of the things that has made me successful in my career is exactly that, is what do I do is I focus on building relationships with my colleagues, because that's the best way to get the science done. You're not always going to see eye to eye, but if you can really just have that foundational relationship, and it really helps you be able to move things forward and then also influence if there's a direction that you want to go to. The other piece is, communication. Communication. All those papers, all those seminars, all those hours spent. As you progress in your career, you're going to run into situations where you have challenging workmates, you have challenging managers, and you're probably going to be people managers too. And at least for me, in this getting a PhD in chemistry, does not teach you how to manage people. But what I found is it was common sensed. It just came naturally. I actually see the same thing with my father and my sisters as well, are both amazing and pointing out amazing people managers. And I think a lot of it comes down to the ability to communicate, right? And that's kind of a fundamental thing that I feel like that you get with a liberal arts education. And so now I'd like to conclude, and people say, oh, what would you tell yourself if you could tell yourself then? I'd say today, be proud of yourselves, be really proud of yourselves. You've done some really great things, and really celebrate the moment. I think, I was always go, 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 and you'd celebrate a little bit, but wait, there's always something X, there's always something X. There is something X, and you will achieve that, and you will get there. But make sure you celebrate what you have done and the successes you've had. It took a global pandemic for me to realize, oh, maybe I'm actually kind of good at what I do. So hopefully that's not the case for all of you. But congratulations, and thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you, Dr. Beninato, for those inspiring words, and also, again, heartfelt thanks for your incredibly instrumental role during the pandemic to bring us out of the pandemic. Thank you again. It is now my great pleasure to welcome Father Kenneth Sicard, the president of Providence College, to offer some closing remarks.
Thank you, Dean Branham. Now in its third year, the Phi Beta Kappa induction ceremony represents an annual highlight on the Providence College calendar. I'm pleased to join in recognizing excellence in the liberal arts and sciences among our students and faculty. Momentum continues to build around our Phi Beta Kappa chapter, which stands out as a marker of distinction in our academic community. Moreover, it sends a message both loud and clear that Providence College's liberal arts and sciences disciplines are of the highest quality, comparable to those at our nation's very best colleges and universities. These programs represent the essence of the college's nature and its purpose, and that is why we so heartily celebrate your achievements. It has been said that our mission is our motto, Veritas, the truth. As a community of learners, we seek the truth. We nurture intellectual curiosity by asking questions and probing for answers. We believe that there is truth in our academic pursuits, there is truth within us, and there is truth in God. In the liberal arts and sciences, we learn what is true, along with what is beautiful and meaningful. We practice the enduring habits of the mind that serve us as people who never stop learning, and we gain the perspectives that help us lead good lives. In studying these disciplines, we become better able to create, communicate, and collaborate, to analyze, to discern. We learn to apply ethical considerations and rationality. As we navigate a complex world full of misinformation and disinformation, these capabilities are essential to both success and fulfillment. As Phi Beta Kappa members, you are singularly prepared to lead the way in the pursuit of the essential truth revealed to you at Providence College. To the students in the class that we induct today, I offer heartfelt congratulations. You stand out among your peers for your acumen in academic pursuits, but also much more. You exemplify character and integrity, among the ideals we value most highly here at Providence College. Phi Beta Kappa membership is a mark of distinction that will serve you well throughout your lives. It is a signal to all that you are a person of signature accomplishment with unlimited potential. Congratulations. I'd like to thank Dean Brenham and all those who put so much time and effort into sustaining and growing our Phi Beta Kappa chapter. It takes significant commitment, and I am particularly grateful for our outstanding faculty, the community of scholars that makes possible the achievement of our highest aspirations. May God bless all of you, and may God bless Providence College. Thank you.
Thank you, President Sicard. The alma mater is indicated in your program, and it will now be sung by one of our Phi Beta Kappa inductees, Claire Krug, and also a major in music and music technology and production. Would all please rise?
Mother of truth, we proudly pledge to thee undying love and steadfast loyalty. From thee we learned the wondrous work of God, His goodness, grace, and holy power. Clear hast thou shown what pathways must be trod. All fearless now we bravely life's hour. Though failure frown, though kindly fortune smile, firm our advance, naught can us e'er beguile. To honor bound, to love and virtue sworn, lift we our voice in full acclaim. Our lives shall thee with noble deeds adorn. Hail Providence, we praise thy name.
Thank you, Claire. That was beautiful. We've reached the conclusion of our ceremony this evening. In just a moment, the Phi Beta Kappa members, followed by our student inductees, will recess. And I ask just that our guests remain at your seats during that time. But I'd like to invite everyone to a festive reception celebrating this joyful occasion in the Fiandella Great Room down the hall. Please notice when you're in there, we have our Phi Beta Kappa charter on the wall. And I also just want to take a moment to thank the staff of Arts and Sciences, DWC, and College Events for their wonderful organization and hard work today. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, students, and guests, I hereby declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you and congratulations.